Welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. I'm your host, Miss Kazmack. Now, I'm joined with this beautiful, beautiful sister and right next to me. Her name is Janelle. And if you remember from episode 8, remember episode 8, if you haven't seen episode 8, then you need to subscribe to the channel so you can learn more about Janelle. In fact, let Janelle introduce herself. Hey sis, how are you?
Hi Kaz, I'm great, thank you on this gloriously sunny day.
Right, it's just absolutely beautiful and you are looking beautiful like the sunshine itself.
Thank you. I always take my lead from you because, you know, you are the epitome of queenly godliness. So. But no, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and join you. You know how I feel about No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. So for you to actually ask me to come along and co-host with you is an honour. So yes, I am really happy to be here.
Thank you. But we are super excited because we are going to be speaking with our kings. Now, we have been focusing on female empowerment. Now, don't get it twisted. We are going to continue with No Ordinary Women. However, we need to also think about the men that are doing amazing things within our community. Now, some of you may or may not know about these men, but on No Ordinary Woman Chat Show, you are always going to hear about leading people who are doing amazing things to inspire you to become who you have been created to be. Now, do you know, we have this amazing king with us right now, so should we just give a quick intro to our guest?
So. Yeah? We have with us Paul Lawerence, who is the founding member and media representative of 100 Black Men of London.
Yes, now the 100 Black Men of London is a community-based charity led by Black men, focusing on mentoring, education, economic empowerment, and health and wellness. We call these, what they call these, the four for the future. So without further ado, let's meet our king.
Paul. Yeah.
Hi, Paul.
Hi,
How are
Cass.
you? Well, thank you, sir, for coming. You look amazing, very handsome.
Ah, thank you. I do try.
I do like the pin just there as well.
Yeah, it's my 100 membership pin. We're not allowed out in public without it.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about your organisation. How did it get started?
Well, the 100 Black Men of London was founded 17 years ago. Not very far from here, in fact, because I was just mentioning that the school across the road is where we had our first in-school program.
The area that we're in currently is in South London.
It's just across the road. But I guess the idea very much came from Birmingham. Birmingham was the first UK chapter of the International 100 Black Men of America, which started back in the 60s. But Birmingham had a very strong, thriving chapter before. And a gentleman named Ken Barnes, who was based up in Birmingham, moved down to London. And he thought that it would be a very, very good idea to have an organization of this type. Anecdotally, Ken had 2 daughters. And what Ken's philosophy was that he should be raising the sort of black men that he'd be happy to see with his daughters. And so for him, the 100 Black Men was certainly a necessity. We had a meeting by Tower Hill, and a couple of black men, including myself, got together and thought, yeah, this is something we could put our heads together. And that was 17 years ago.
Wow.
That's pretty spectacular. You know, I mean, contrary to popular belief, Kaz, instead of there being a few good men, there are plenty, and I think 100 Black Men of London demonstrates that.
Absolutely. In regards to it being 100 black men, but how do these men actually join your organization?
Okay, most of the time it will be through people who are already members who will be, you know, doing stuff like what I'm doing today, and it gets some sort of what they're doing in their daily life. You know, Facebook, whatever, Twitter is a great place to say stuff, but there comes a point where you get this little urge to do a little bit more, and they will come to the 100 and they'll say, look, I'd like to join, I'd like to find out more. Our joining process is pretty straightforward. We like prospective members and volunteers, ladies join as volunteers, to spend some time with us, seeing what we do, seeing how we do it, understanding our ethos and our background, and making a decision that, yeah, this is something for you. And also it gives us in the organization an opportunity to assess the new member, because we got a lot of stuff to do, there's a lot of work to do, and to put it politely, there's no space for people just joining because the pin looks nice or it's a nice place to hang out. So what we try to do is give people the opportunity to realize the level of work and commitment that being a member requires, And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But very, very often, I'd say 90% of the people who do step forward, who go through the process, it's just a wonderful thing to see both our black men and black women working, you know, for no pay, but for the community. And when you have the track record that we have, it's easy to attract the right sort of people because they know the legacy that they're walking into.
So you've spoken about, you know, the membership program, and of course you've got plenty of volunteers as well. But how does your organisation sustain itself? What does membership actually mean? What does that look like?
So the organisation is a male-led organisation, unashamedly so, and it will always remain the case. The name is the 100 Black Men of London, which is a branch of the 100 Black Men of America. The reality is that all male members are required to pay a membership due.
Right.
That is a requirement.
Okay, so if, say for example, there's a guy that's, you know, has the passion to do so, but is unemployed. So would he not be able to become a member if he can't pay?
If he is unemployed, we'll make a special dispensation.
Right.
But again, we are looking for people who can really help push our community forward. And without being evil beyond the need to be, I'd like to say that you need to be able to help yourself first. And so what we would be saying to him is, look after yourself first. Get yourself sorted out. We will always be here, and we will always need his help. So let's sort yourself out, because the organization depends upon the income from our members and from the community who help us as well. But we depend upon that. So what we're really looking for, who are brothers and sisters who are ready to do this mission. Even though the women are not asked to pay a membership fee, a lot of the women do.
Yeah.
They do contribute, and some of them contribute spectacular amounts of money, and the public do so through our appeals. But we have to understand the 100 is not funded by central government. So if we apply for any funding, if we apply for bits and pieces, that's what we live on, and we live very much off the membership dues of the members.
So you say it's not sponsored by central government. We know that there is funding out there, albeit that sometimes it's not quite visible in terms of, you know, accessibility. Is that by choice that it's not funded by central government, or?
It is by choice. We have in the past applied for funding and gotten funding, but what we have found, and I think a lot of black organizations, well, any organization would have found, is that funding comes with rules.
Yeah.
Funding comes with expectations. They're not giving you £45,000 so you can do your own thing.
So you would find that those rules are restrictive, I imagine.
We would find that those rules don't serve our people.
Right, okay.
Right.
Our objective, first and foremost, is to serve our people, serve our community. And some of the rules do not coincide with that. And so we would much rather do what we can with what we have than stretch ourselves. In the past, organizations have stretched themselves too far because they got funding for 1 year or 2 years, and when the funding disappears, they're unable to sustain their programs. The 100 has been running for 17 years. Last year, I had the dubious honor of creating all the graduation certificates. There were 117 graduation certificates that I personally put together. Yeah. So we're talking about an organization led by black men, supported by black women, no central government funding, running for 17 years, who graduated 117 people last year.
That's brilliant. But in regards to all of those individuals, the students that has graduated, could you give us a bit more information in regards to the program? What does the program consist of?
Okay, the basic program is called the Me I Can Be, and it was originally designed to work specifically with young people. Bearing in mind that there are 4 pillars within the 100: mentoring, education, health and well-being, and economic development. The one which certainly everybody knows us for is mentoring. And that core program is called the Be I Can Be, and we work with young people who we call diamonds. And the idea is that we take them through a year-long program. It mirrors the academic year, and we teach them a number of personal development skills. So we'll start off in October, quite rightly, with Black History Month.
Right.
We understand the need for them to understand their history. Then we'll move to stuff like self-identity, self-esteem, self-belief, self-knowledge. Then we'll work through peer relationships, family relationships, drugs and violence, knife crime, social media. all the things that are very current in the lives of young people. That session is run twice for any young person who joins age 11, 12. Then they'll move into a next group where they do peer mentoring.
Right.
And in that session, what we're trying to do is help them to mentor other young people. It may be formally or actually just informally in their community, in their classes, whether they're at school, uni, or whatever. And then finally, the third program for the young people is their leadership program. And these are young people who have stayed the course, they've stayed there. It's not every young person at that stage. You have about 10 or 15 of them left at that point who are looking at leadership stuff. These are young people who will lead sessions. So yesterday we had audience with our children, and that would have been led by our peer, our leadership group, young people who've been there for a while, and they're just so good. Not just at understanding and grasping social concepts, but also articulating themselves in terms of public speaking.
I think that's beautiful, because the thing is, you're preparing them, you know, preparing them for their future, and you're putting them in certain positions where they become even more confident within themselves. So by the time they go out into the big world, they're prepared already because you've given them that foundation. So well done. And
that's what the program should be doing. That's what we should be doing. We should be preparing our children beyond the academics, because we're not about the academics. The schools will handle that. For us, it's about preparing them for the world.
So in terms of the program, you've spoken about the young people that are involved. What about the parents? Because behind every young person, undoubtedly, they have parents, and you know, how do you ensure that it's not just about the young person, but it's a holistic approach? Are the parents involved?
Yeah, the parents are absolutely involved. When we began the program, the first sessions were up by Philip Lane, and then we moved down to Elephant and Castle. And what we noticed was that parents would come along, they'd drop the kids off, and they'd relax outside in the car or in the corridor, and they'd wait for their children. Very, very often after a session, especially hearing some of the stuff we were talking about, the parents would then come and ask questions about the sessions and so on. And a lady called Jennifer Lewis, who was one of our volunteers at the time, and her daughter was actually one of the mentees, thought that it would be a good idea if we had a parenting program. And it was a program where the parents could share in the sort of, not necessarily learning, but the themes that were being discussed by the young people in the room, so that the conversations that took place in the room, the parents could then take it up on the drive home during the week. They would understand what the young people are talking about. They get homework, they could help with the homework, and it made sense. So the parenting program is not parenting classes. It's a situation where we share best practice. We share best practice. For example, if a young person is having difficulty at school, that would never be the first young person having difficulty at school. And so what we can do, we can say to parents, well, you know, this parent had the same sort of issue. So it's sort of a guided conversation, and the conversations are themed exactly as the sessions that the young people are doing. So while they're doing social media, we're talking about social media and the effects it has on your child. When they're talking about peer pressure, we're talking about peer pressure and the effects it has on your child.
And that's great, because then obviously for both the children, the child, and for the parent, then when they're both leaving, they can continue that conversation on their journey back home, or even continue once they get home. So that's
it's
really
like a support hub, isn't it? So
it is exactly like a support hub. When you go into the parent session, it's very much lighter. It's not about people talking, it's about just discussing. You know, people coming up with what my issue is, how did you handle it, how did you get through this, how did you get through that. You know, it's really about best practice, because to date no one has really written a parenting manual that could be all encompassing. And so that place where people can share, and you're sharing with people who you already know want to improve the lives of their child, which is why they've given up their Saturdays to come to such a place. So you're already in a group of people who they're looking in the same direction as you.
So can I just ask, what made you decide to you know, build this organisation? What was the foundation behind it for you personally?
I guess I was in the right place at the right time. I was just in a gym, and Ken Barnes walked up to me and said, I want to do this. You're a black guy. What do you think?
Who's Ken Barnes?
Ken Barnes is the founder.
Yeah.
He's a founder. He was our first president, followed by Olu and then Kola, and now we have Dunstan. So we had 4 presidents over the years. But for me, it was about me starting to develop a certain social awareness. I came from Jamaica, and much of what was taking place in the UK, London, for me didn't really concern me. It was outside of my zone of thinking because it didn't really affect me. Then I had a child.
Right.
And the penny dropped to me that, yes, my education and my experiences in Jamaica may isolate me from what's happening in the UK, but my son's going to grow up here. My son is going to be British, far more than I will ever be. And so the need to sort of understand the dynamics of the environment around him, the challenges that he was facing, what it would be like parenting a young black man in the UK suddenly became very important to me. And so the opportunity to work with an organization that sort of focused on mentoring young black people, it wasn't one I could give up.
Yes.
And so your son, I'm sure, would have been through the program then.
Yeah, he's been through the program more often than he'd like to admit, because I was dragging him before he was old enough.
Right.
You know, I was dragging him before he was old, but my son has always, I'd like to say, benefited from that side of me. I mean, I also do work with an organization called Urban Synergy. He's been through their programs as well. It's there for young people to take part in. It's very much a part of growing up for him. He's never really known anything. He knows it's Saturday, that's where daddy's going. And so I dragged him along until he was old enough to resist.
Okay.
One of the things I actually want to ask before we wrap up is that, you know, you have an organisation that provides this service to people, and they come to you, you know, parents who really want to ensure that their young son maintains and is on the right path, and
daughters.
And daughters, makes a success of their lives. But I guess some would be critical and say that actually, while they're coming to you, the people that really need to be reached, those who are out there in the community, those whose parents maybe aren't so engaged or don't have the knowledge and the understanding to get involved and find an organisation like yourselves, those are the ones that need to be reached. So what would you say to that? How do you address that?
It's a great question, but what I would say to it is this. It has been my experience that irrespective of how great a program is, and by the way, the 100 is not the only great program we have in London. I know lots of other organizations doing really, really good work, more or less in the same sort of genre. The reality of the matter is, there are some people who you will never get to join any organization like that. They will never come out, they'll never bring their children. And that's probably why their children need it the most. Because the parents' mindset is that they're either not willing to accept help or they don't think they need help. And I can assure you that if you even approach such a parent, only a small minority will be convinced that it's worth their time, that it's worth their effort, that it's worth their Saturday mornings, that it's worth them putting off something to come there on a Saturday morning in the cold, in the rain, to sit down for 2 hours. It's on a Saturday. So what I found is that our best duty as an organization is to provide the service, to do shows like this, to do interviews, to make sure that they know we're available and we're open to them and we're willing to them. The 100 programs are free. There's no cost. There's no cost to you. All you have to do is turn up.
Well, with you saying in regards to there's no cost and in regards to the program, how can our audience now connect with you?
I think the easiest way to connect with us is through social media, or you can send us emails. Email is info@100bmol.org, or social media. You can look for the 100 Black Men of London. You can look for Paul Lawerence. You can look for Dunstan Cavell. You can look for any of those people and you'll be able to connect to us instantly. I think it would be the right thing to tell you that on the 3rd of June is our annual graduation this year, and it's open to the public.
How many graduates?
I don't know this year because I'm not doing the certificates this year.
Okay.
I've dodged that bullet. But suffice to say, the last time I checked, of 150 tickets that we have, which are free, but we need to organize it, I think 147 have already been booked.
Oh,
and these are people from the public who want to come and share in our graduation. The next event that we'll be having after that is our annual Father's Day Quality Time event, where no ladies are invited. It is just about men spending quality time with their young people on that special Father's Day weekend. But finding us is easy. If you're on social media at all and you find my name, inbox me, you're on it. 100 Black Men, we're all over it, we're on it. Twitter, we're there.
And could I just ask you just to speak to the camera and just speak to an individual that may potentially want to join your program, but for whatever reason their parent is just not in that place. Maybe it's a single parent, and the single parent is not really, how can I say, supportive of that child to basically get the support that they particularly need. Could you just...
Well, I think the main thing I'd say to any young person who'd like to join the 100 is this. The first thing is just do it. Sometimes you just need to step out of your shell and do for your own self. I can guarantee you, you will learn a tremendous amount, not just about yourself, but about the environment around you. You will meet fantastic young people and adults whose sole purpose is to see you do well and to see you benefit. You will meet young people who have gone through the program. We are now in a place where there are young people who live in communities just like yours, come from environments just like yours, who have come back and are now in the 100 because the experience for them was so good. Sometimes, as a young person, you just have to lead. It's Saturday, it's free, it's only 2 hours, and we really look forward to seeing you.
And are you based all over London?
Our sessions take place in UCL at 20 Bedford Way in the middle of the city, because we now pull all of our stuff back into one place. So we have one central place. UCL provide us with about 6 or 7 classrooms and lecture theatres where we can do that. So for right now, that's our base. But I guess like every other black organization, we're trying to find a real home that we can nail down as our home, and we can just operate from there.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for coming, and thank you for just sharing in regards to what your organization is doing and the amazing work it's been doing for our up and coming generation. So Janelle, what do you think?
I mean, I'm just blown away, actually. I've known about 100 black men for at least the past 10 years, and to see it thriving and continuing, and the great work you're doing, especially in the environment and the current climate that we're in, is so important, and so important to let people out there really understand that there is hope, there is always hope, and you know, there is a bright future out there for our young people with the support of organisations like yours. So I just reiterate what Kat says. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. It's been a wonderful pleasure.
Thank you, very welcome.
Okay, so guys, I'm sure you was blessed, because I know we were blessed. So until next time, where we get to meet our future, well, not our future only, but the future generation is going to learn more about our kings who are doing amazing things within our community. So until next time, bye.
You are the key. It's only natural.
Welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. I'm your host, Miss Kazmack. Now, I'm joined with this beautiful, beautiful sister, and right next to me, her name is Janelle. And if you remember from episode 8, Remember episode 8. If you haven't seen episode 8, then you need to subscribe to the channel so you can learn more about Janelle. In fact, let Janelle introduce herself. Hey sis, how are you?
Hi Kaz, I'm great, thank you on this gloriously sunny day.
Right, it's just absolutely beautiful, and you are looking beautiful like the sunshine itself.
Thank you. I always take my lead from you because, you know, you are the epitome of queenly godliness. So, but no, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and join you. You know how I feel about No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. So for you to actually ask me to come along and co-host with you is an honour. So yes, I am really happy to be here.
Thank you. But we are super excited because we are going to be speaking with our kings. Now, we have been focusing on female empowerment. Now, don't get it twisted. We are going to continue with No Ordinary Women. However, we need to also think about the men that are doing amazing things within our community. Now, some of you may or may not know about these men, but on No Ordinary Woman Chat Show, you are always going to hear about leading people who are doing amazing things to inspire you to become who you have been created to be. Now, do you know, we have this amazing king with us right now, so should we just give a quick intro to our guest?
So. Yeah. We have with us Paul Lawerence, who is the founding member and media representative of 100 Black Men of London.
Yes, now the 100 Black Men of London is a community-based charity led by Black men, focusing on mentoring, education, economic empowerment, and health and wellness. We call these, what they call these, the four for the future. So without further ado, let's meet our king.
Paul. Yeah.
Hi, Paul.
Hi,
How are
Cass.
you? Well, thank you, sir, for coming. You look amazing, very handsome.
Ah, thank you. I do try.
I do like the pin just there as well.
Yeah, it's my 100 membership pin. We're not allowed out in public without it.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about your organisation. How did it get